Have you ever met someone who slipped into your life so quietly that you only realized their influence once it had already transformed you? Unlike those who arrive with noise and demands for attention, the Sigma male enters like a slow but powerful tide, reshaping everything without announcement. His presence is not fleeting background noise, but force that lingers, leaving echoes even in his absence. What makes him remarkable is not charm or the need for recognition, but his unwavering alignment with his own core identity. Guided by an inner compass, he lives on his own terms, refusing to stagnate, and in doing so, challenges others without words to question the maps guiding their own lives. He doesn't preach or criticize. His example itself becomes a lesson, setting a new standard of authenticity and self-respect. Losing such a figure leaves a silence that distractions cannot fill, a silence that forces deep reflection and growth. For those who encounter him, it becomes clear his presence was never by chance. It was a reminder that life is not meant to be lived small or safe, but with depth, courage, and uncompromising truth. His role, whether brief or lasting, often becomes a turning point where one begins to write a more authentic story of their own. 1. The misunderstood fortress. Standards as protection. Sigma males are often misjudged as arrogant or aloof because their boundaries clash with society's norms. What appears as pride is really a defense mechanism, a way to protect their peace, values, and limited energy. Like a master architect building a sanctuary, he admits only what strengthens his inner world and rejects drama, negativity, or shallow demands. His silence and refusal to settle are mistaken for superiority, but in truth, they reflect discipline and wisdom. People usually realize this only after his absence, when they understand his standards were not walls of exclusion, but filters that preserve his authenticity. 2. The uncompromising gardener. Growth is a necessity. For the Sigma male, growth is not optional. It's survival. He refuses to stay in stagnant environments, whether in relationships, careers, or social circles. Like a tree outgrowing a small pot, confinement stunts his spirit, so he uproots himself to seek new ground. This choice often unsettles those left behind, forcing them to face their own limitations. Though his departure may feel like abandonment, in time it is recognized as a bold move toward authenticity. His refusal to stay in dead waters becomes a powerful example, silently urging others to break their own chains and pursue growth. 3. The resonant absence. A catalyst for reflection. When a Sigma male leaves, his absence echoes louder than his presence. His departure isn't casual, it's transformative. Those around him are confronted with silence that magnifies his influence, making them see their own compromises and unfulfilled aspirations. Friends, partners, or colleagues may deny it outwardly, but inwardly they feel the shift. His leaving becomes a mirror, exposing the truth they avoided. Over time, his example pushes him toward long-neglected changes, proving that his absence carries lessons as impactful, if not more so, than his presence. 4. The final chapter, rewriting life story. A Sigma male doesn't just pass through lives. He redefines them. His influence is like the final chapter of a profound book, altering the meaning of everything that came before. After knowing him, people cannot return to their old ways of thinking or settling for less. His presence sets new standards for love, friendships, and purpose, and even years later, his silent benchmark reshapes choices. He becomes not just a memory, but a permanent shift in perspective, proving that life after him is never the same as before. 5. The unseen depths, misjudged but rarely matched. Sigma males are often underestimated because they don't chase attention or display overt charisma. They're calm. Reserved nature leads others to dismiss them as ordinary. Yet in reality, they notice details and unspoken truths others overlook. They listen beyond words, catching pauses, subtle expressions, and contradictions. This makes people feel profoundly understood, often more than they even understood themselves. Tragically, this is usually recognized only after he is gone, when ordinary interactions feel hollow compared to the rare experience of being truly seen. 6. The unreplicable standard, honesty and quiet intensity. Unlike most, a Sigma male combines unflinching honesty with deep, quiet intensity. His truth is never cruel but clarifying, exposing excuses and wasted potential with calm precision. He listens intently, remembers small details, and connects patterns that reveal a person's deeper self. This rare mix of honesty and depth sets a benchmark few others can reach. After his departure, partners, friends, or colleagues often realize they cannot find that same standard again, learning too late that his presence was irreplaceable. 7. The silent storm, power and withdrawal. When a Sigma male withdraws, he doesn't create drama. Instead, his silence becomes louder than arguments. Like a lighthouse whose light suddenly vanishes, his absence leaves others feeling unstable and exposed. Friends notice conversations lose depth. Partners realize his steadiness was their anchor, and colleagues miss the discipline and integrity he brought. His quiet exit leaves a void that forces others to recognize the stabilizing influence he carried, making his absence feel like a storm that reshaped the landscape. 8. The final page, closure without return. For the Sigma male, closure is an inner decision, not a prolonged discussion. Once he decides something is over, he moves forward without revisiting the past. This can feel abrupt to others who crave explanations or dramatic farewells, but his silence is a closure itself. Like someone walking away from a burning house, he focuses on rebuilding rather than staring at ruins. Though painful, this teaches a harsh but valuable truth. Some endings come without answers, and accepting them is the only path forward. 9. The unflinching mirror, confronting the hidden self. One of the most challenging and ultimately transformative aspects of interacting with Sigma male is his innate ability to function as a human mirror. He has a way of reflecting back to people the parts of themselves they are most terrified to face. This is not a conscious strategy of exposure or desire to induce shame. It occurs organically and inevitably as a consequence of the way he moves through the world. His unwavering personal honesty, his disciplined adherence to his own code, and his fundamental refusal to participate in the collective maintenance of social masks and polite fictions force those around him to inadvertently notice the discrepancies in their own lives. His very existence shines a light on the insecurities, compromises, and self-deceptions that they work so hard to bury beneath layers of distraction and justification. Imagine the discomfort of being in a room with someone who possesses an uncanny ability to see straight through your carefully constructed persona. Most people spend a great deal of energy cultivating an image, crafting narratives that justify their choices, and avoiding topics that trigger their insecurities. A Sigma male, by contrast, does not engage with a persona. He engages with the person behind it. He intuitively senses a hesitation lurking behind a boastful statement, recognizes a fear dictating a safe life choice, and perceives the quiet desperation hiding beneath a whirlwind of social activity. His mere presence can feel like a spotlight being directed onto the shadowy corners of one's psyche, illuminating things that were never meant to be seen. 10. The unfiltered veracity, the permanent imprint of raw truth. A Sigma male builds his life upon a foundation of truth, even when that truth is brutal, inconvenient, or socially unpalatable. He does not soften its edges to make it more digestible, nor does he distort to serve his own interests or protect the feelings of others in the short term. He engages with reality as it is, not as people might wish it to be. For many, this rawness is overwhelming. It dismantles the carefully constructed illusions and comforting narratives they relied upon for years to navigate their lives. But whether it is welcomed or rejected, his unwavering commitment to veracity leaves a permanent imprint on their consciousness, a scar of clarity that never fully fades. Contrast this with the way most people prefer to handle truth. They desire to be sugar-coated, delivered with a generous side of reassurance. They seek comfort more ardently than they seek clarity. When making a poor life choice, they would rather be told, "It'll all work out," than be confronted with the hard facts of the situation. A Sigma male is constitutionally incapable of participating in this collective delusion. If he observes you willfully neglecting your talents and squandering your potential, he will point out. If he detects the lies you are telling yourself to justify staying in a miserable job or a toxic relationship, he will, without malice but also without hesitation, expose the fallacy. He is not being cruel. He is upholding a fundamental principle. He will not allow falsehood to occupy the space where he stands. 11. The unfillable void, distractions, and the echoing silence. In the painful vacuum left by a Sigma male's departure, people often engage in a frantic, desperate scramble to fill the emptiness. They seek replacements, distractions, and surrogates. They plunge headlong into new romantic entanglements, cultivate new circles of friends, or lose themselves in a whirlwind of activities, social events, and digital noise, all in a concerted effort to drown out the profound silence his absence has created. Yet, no matter how high they turn up the volume of their lives, the silence he left behind possesses a peculiar quality. It is consistently louder and more resonant than the noise of any potential replacement. The distractions serve only as a temporary mask, never as a cure for the underlying loss. Consider the analogy of sound itself. You can fill a room with loud, upbeat, yet ultimately meaningless music. The decibels are high, the vibrations are felt, but if the music lacks soul, depth, or emotional connection, the experience still feels hollow. The noise is present, but it does not fill the void. It merely highlights its existence by providing such a stark contrast. This is the experiential reality for those trying to move on from a Sigma male. They can populate their lives with new people, but these individuals rarely, if ever, carry the same substantive weight of presence. He was not someone who merely occupied social space with chatter or superficial connection. He was the individual who gave conversations their soul, who infused interactions with meaning, and who made even shared silences feel alive and significant. 12. The lingering scar. Relationships that end with sharp, lasting edges. Relationships with a Sigma male rarely follow the conventional path of gradual fading. They do not gently recede into the soft-focused background of memory, where emotions blur and the sharpness of loss is dulled by the passage of time. Instead, these connections often conclude with defined, sharp edges that paradoxically cut more deeply as time passes. The reason for this lies in the unique quality of presence he offers, a presence so substantial and rare that its absence becomes a permanent, aching landmark in one's personal history. When he is gone, the void left behind does not heal over like a clean wound. It remains open, a constant reminder of a depth that has been lost. Initially, individuals may believe they can expedite the process of moving on. They immerse themselves in new social scenes, adopt new routines, or seek temporary excitement in fleeting encounters. Yet, in the unguarded quiet moments, while driving alone, in the stillness before sleep, the memory of his impact resurfaces with unsettling clarity. They recall the unparalleled quality of his attention, the way he listened as if deciphering a sacred text. They remember how his unflinching honesty, though sometimes difficult to hear, forced them to confront truths they had spent a lifetime avoiding. This caliber of depth cannot be erased or replaced by shallow substitutes. With time, the comparison between the profound connection they once had and the superficiality of their current interactions only grows sharper and more disheartening. It is akin to the sensation of touching a scar. At first, it is merely a visible mark, a part of your history. But the more you run your fingers over its raised texture, the more vividly you recall the initial injury, the pain, the shock, the moment of rupture. A Sigma male becomes that kind of scar in the narrative of a person's life. The relationship itself may be formally over, but the memory retains its cutting power because it represented a quality of connection that is not easily, if ever, replicated. The relationship was imbued with a meaning that transcends ordinary companionship in the practical reality of daily life. This sharpness is acutely felt. A former partner may find, years later, that they are unconsciously comparing every new suitor to him, finding all others lacking in the specific combination of quiet strength and perceptive understanding he possessed. A friend may struggle to find satisfaction in their current social circle, realizing that conversations feel light, forgettable, and intellectually barren compared to challenging and stimulating dialogues he naturally fostered. Even former colleagues may feel a sense of professional ennui, recognizing that the workplace has lost the unique integrity and independent thought he brought to every project. The sharpness of the ending with a Sigma male stems from the unyielding realness he embodied. He was authentically himself, sometimes to an uncomfortable degree. When that caliber of authentic presence exits your life, it leaves behind a hollow space that time alone cannot fill. The longer this void persists, the more it cuts, because on a fundamental level, you know you have lost something irreplaceable, a connection that does not come twice in a lifetime. 13. The unspoken teacher. Is life as a living curriculum? beyond any specific advice or direct intervention. The most powerful lesson a Sigma male offers is the example of his own life. He is a walking, breathing curriculum on the principles of integrity, self-possession, and authentic living. He does not need to preach or publish a manifesto. His daily actions, his choices, and his very demeanor serve as a syllabus. People who have known him often find that the memory of how he was becomes a more potent teacher than any specific thing he ever said. His life becomes a reference manual for navigating one's own existence with greater purpose and principle. His curriculum is not an easy one. It demands introspection, courage, and a willingness to stand alone. The first module is self-honesty. He demonstrates through his own conduct the necessity of being ruthlessly honest with oneself. He does not entertain his own excuses or hide behind his own fears. Observing this, others are compelled to ask themselves the difficult questions. Where am I lying to myself? What excuses am I using to justify my stagnation? The second module is evaluation of inner peace. He teaches that peace of mind is a non-negotiable asset, more valuable than social approval, material wealth, or the temporary comfort of conformity. He shows that it is not only acceptable but necessary to build boundaries and filters to protect this inner sanctum, even if it means disappointing others. The third module in his unspoken curriculum is the courage of nonconformity. He lives proof that it is possible to opt out of societal scripts, the relentless pursuit of status, the compulsive need for validation, the fear of being alone. His life is a testament to the idea that one can define success on one's own terms and find profound satisfaction outside the chorus of collective opinion. Finally, he teaches the power of purposeful action. He does not waste energy on drama or idle chatter. His movements are intentional, his time is precious, and his engagements are purposeful. This demonstrates that a life of impact is not built on noise, but on focused, deliberate action. 14. The alchemy of loss, transforming pain into fuel for growth. The initial experience of losing a Sigma male is often one of profound disorientation and pain. It can feel like a foundational pillar has been removed from the structure of one's life, causing everything to feel unstable and uncertain. This pain is real and valid. However, for those who are willing to move through the grief rather than around it, a slow and powerful alchemy can begin to take place. The very pain of his absence can be transmuted into the fuel required for unprecedented personal growth. His departure, which initially felt like an ending, can become the catalyst for a more authentic beginning. This transformative process is not automatic. It requires a conscious decision to lean into the discomfort. The first stage of this alchemy is confrontation. The silence he leaves behind forces a confrontation with the self. Without his grounding presence to provide external stability, individuals are thrown back onto their own resources. They're compelled to ask, who am I without this person? What do I truly want? This can be a terrifying but necessary inquiry. The second stage is assimilation. This involves integrating the lessons he embodied, the value of standards, the importance of growth, the necessity of truth. It is no longer about missing him, but about embodying the principles he represented within one's own life. It is about building one's own inner Sigma, so to speak. The final stage of this alchemical process is self-authorship. This is the point where the individual stops mourning the lost chapter and begins writing a new one, informed by the lessons learned. They begin to set their own non-negotiable standards, not as an imitation of him, but as an expression of their own clarified values. They start to refuse stagnation in their own relationships and career. They begin to speak their truth with more courage. In this way, the Sigma male's role evolves from being a character in their story to becoming the inspiration for them to become the author of a better, stronger narrative. The relationship, therefore, completes a symbolic circle. He entered as a catalyst, disrupted the status quo, and then departed, creating a vacuum. That vacuum, through the alchemy of loss, creates the conditions for a new, more self-actualized individual to emerge. The pain of losing him is not negated, but it is given meaning. It becomes a price paid for a profound upgrade in one's own operating system. The individual realizes that the greatest tribute they can pay to his impact is not eternal mourning, but a life lived with the same depth, courage, and authenticity that he demonstrated. His absence, in the end, becomes a space in which they finally learn to stand on their own. Conclusion: the enduring legacy of the final chapter. Have you ever paused to truly wonder why certain individuals leave a mark upon your soul that time cannot erode? This is the enduring reality of having crossed paths with a Sigma male. He is not a person who blends into the gallery of your past, his image growing faint with the years. Instead, he becomes a final chapter of a particular volume of your life. A concluding section so powerful that it permanently alters your interpretation of all that came before and sets a new precedent for all that will follow. His honesty, his unwavering standards, and his potent silence carry a gravitational weight that does not merely pass through your existence. It bends the very fabric of it, shaping your trajectory in subtle but permanent ways. The experience of losing him often feels brutal because the full magnitude of what he offered typically becomes clear only in retrospect. You see, with painful clarity, the rare depth he carried, the quiet way he pushed you toward your own evolution, and his principled refusal to remain in any environment that demanded his diminishment. Initially, this realization can feel like a wound, a source of regret and longing, but with time and reflection, many discover that the encounter was also a profound gift. He bequeaths lessons that far outlast his physical presence. His departure often becomes a pivotal moment you begin to engage in a more honest dialogue with yourself, making different choices, and refusing to settle for a life of mediocrity. The ultimate truth is that his role was never to provide perpetual comfort or easy answers for those around him. His purpose was to serve as an agent of change, to leave an imprint so distinct that it compels a fundamental reassessment of one's own life. While this can be unsettling, even painful, it is also what renders him an unforgettable figure in your personal history. If you have ever known a Sigma male, receive it as a sign that you were granted a rare and potent experience, one that most people will never encounter. Therefore, instead of dwelling indefinitely on the loss, allow his memory to serve as a permanent reminder of your own latent capabilities. Let the space his absence created push you to grow in the very ways he once, directly or indirectly, challenge you to. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly, and your perspective, whether you identify with it personally or have encountered it in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know, which part hit home the most for you? Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time.